Hello again, Marjee.
Good evening.
So how did your day go since our webinar?
Pretty good. Just opening day. Easy. How about you?
It's been it's been a very busy day, but I'm here, so that's the key thing. Let me just check and make sure that I don't have any messages about this. I've been offline a little bit here, so yep, I guess that's it. So I think our numbers are going to be similar. Okay, people are arriving. It's good. Well, everybody will start in just a moment here. All right, well, let's begin. I don't want to penalize people for being on time. So we'll begin with a round of introductions. Yeah, we will send the link and background materials and other things um, to everybody who's participated here. So right. So I'll begin. I'm David Blackstein with Bard College. I'm the co-director of our modestly named Solve Climate by 2030 project, and that features Worldwide Climate and Justice Education Week. We have a large group of people who have participated in the past, and it's exciting for me to see that it looks like we have some new people and some people have participated. So what we'll do is we'll have a couple of do the introductions. We'll have a couple of presentations from Marjee and Emily, who've done their have worked with us for a few years now, and then we'll have an opportunity for others who have participated in the past to share what they've been doing, and then a chance for everybody to talk about what they are hoping to do or thinking about doing or ask questions or whatever else. So why don't we, I'll just go around and ask people to introduce themselves. So Alec, do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Glad to, Dr. David. Hello, everyone. I am Alec Benaventura. I am from the Philippines, so I've been involved in the worldwide climate education movement for 3 years now, and I'm excited to hear all the stories we're gonna learn from each other today. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us once again. And let's go then to Michael. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, sorry, one second. I'm joining in a little bit of a precarious situation. Hi, so yeah, my name is, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, so my name is Michael Joseph. I use he, him, and they, them pronouns. I am the Assistant Director for the Center for Climate Action and Sustainability, or CCAS, at the Evergreen State College in Olympia, Washington.
Oh, great. Great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, excited to be here and meet everybody.
Well, good. Yeah, no, I know some of your predecessors, but my contacts have mostly retired, so glad to have you with us. Um, Sakina, hopefully I'm pronouncing that close.
Hi, yes. Nice to meet everyone. Sorry, my camera can't be on. My computer's glitching. Um, I'm from California. I'm a California Climate Action Corps fellow, and I work at the Institute for Sustainability at Cal State University Northridge. As a fellow, I do lots of fun things, lots very climate education and outreach forward. And yeah, we're at the Institute, we're working to plan some cool things during Worldwide Climate Education Week. The university has been participating for a bit. But yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, glad to have you with us. Okay, and then Hannah or Hannah, however you pronounce it, please.
Hello, everyone. I'm here to learn a little bit more about all of this tonight, and I'm calling in from Costa Rica.
Wow, that's why you have the lovely mountains in your background. So that's great. And what institution are you affiliated with in Costa Rica?
I was recommended to hop on the call tonight by a returned Peace Corps volunteer, Seth, and I'm a current Peace Corps volunteer here in Costa Rica.
Wow, what a wonderful service. Thank you. All right, Emma.
Hi. I'm a student in Minnesota. I'm in my senior year of my bachelor. So I'm working on my environmental studies capstone, and we're working on like a climate teach-in project. And my professor like showed us you guys as a resource, and I saw you were doing this call, so I thought I would just see what I could learn.
Great. And you're with University of Minnesota?
No, I'm with a small liberal arts college near Mankato in St. Peter, Minnesota. It's Gustavus Adolphus College.
Oh yeah, I know Gustavus. I gave a talk there a million years ago, but
Oh,
that's
nice.
great. Okay. Good. And then Peter. Peter's iPhone. Is there a? All right, well, we'll skip Peter and Arij. And again, apologies if I had that wrong.
Oh, that's absolutely right. Hi, everyone. I'm Areej from For Our Kids Canada. For Our Kids is a network of climate concerned parents who want to channel their climate concern into action. We're a not for profit, and I am a grassroots organizer around the schools based climate actions for the network. Hence the reason why I joined the call today.
Excellent. And where in Canada are you based?
I'm located in London, in Ontario.
Okay, very good. Well, it's wonderful to have all this international representation. Why don't we have Marjee? Why don't you introduce yourself briefly, and then we'll give you and Emily a chance to speak in a little bit more.
My name is Marjee Levine. I teach in Fine Arts 3D at Massachusetts College of Art and Design, and I chair the Sustainability and the Curriculum Committee.
And Emily?
And my name's Emily Ryan, and I'm at the University of Kansas in Lawrence, Kansas, where I direct the Commons, which I'll tell you more about in a second when I present. But Marjee, I think you're up first if you want.
Yeah, and I've got, but
Liz-
before that, let me just
Liz is texting me, David, that she and some other person are sitting somewhere virtually by themselves. Do you have anyone in the waiting room?
no, there's no waiting room
She must not have
on
the right link.
this.
Okay.
So yeah, could you send
I'll
her the
try.
link and get the other person on there? Yeah, sorry, I don't have any emails from anybody saying that they can't get in, but I'm glad that you at least had that connection. So so let me begin by just saying that the Worldwide Climate and Justice Education Week, as some of you know, is a voluntary, obviously, activity, and that each institution and organizing group does what works best for what they think works best for their own institution. And we have two basic flavors. One is Make Climate an Event, which we're talking about today, and obviously that's events that are organized to try to showcase some things, try to motivate people, lead certainly to climate action. And then the other is Make Climate a Class. We're very creative in our ways of naming things. And Make Climate a Class is exactly that, using your classroom time to teach about climate change, climate solutions, climate justice in the context of your subject. And the one of the advantages of events is it gets people together and builds energy, etc. But you may not get everybody who you get people who are sort of maybe a little more interested to begin with, whereas in the class you sort of have the captive audience and can reach more people. So sorry about the problem with the links. So why don't we, before we go to the presentations, Liz, do you want to introduce yourself briefly, please?
Oh, sure. Thank you. Sorry we were late. I was there with Raquel from the Philippines, and we were in the wrong Zoom. Anyway, but I'm here from Mass College of Art and Design, Massachusetts College of Art and Design, and we've been delighted to be participating in this teach-in for the last 4 years. And my role at MassArt is to direct youth programs. So I serve the students who are maybe thinking about higher education in the visual arts, but are anywhere from grades 3 through 12. And that's my role. And you've, I assuming, met Marjee, my colleague. You're muted now, David.
Sorry, my dog's barking in the background, so I unmute when I'm speaking. But yeah, I think actually what happened was we have different links for the morning and the evening, our time, and I think you two must have been in our morning room. So
And it was
Raquel,
recorded. We were recorded.
Oh,
Just so you
okay.
know.
Okay, well, I'll see what you've been saying because I'll have
Not
access to that. Okay, Raquel, nice to have you. Do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Good morning here in the Philippines, and good evening to all of you. So I'm Raquel Arevalo from the Polytechnic University of the Philippines. I'm a college professor under the College of Science. And this is actually our second meeting, Sir David, or third meeting. But I was not able to attend last time with your webinar. So I hope that we will continue this kind of collaboration. Thank you.
I certainly hope so too. And then Melissa, would you like to introduce yourself, please? Melissa Baez, are you able to unmute? Oh, she's still getting connected. Okay, well, we'll give you a chance in a moment. What I want to do now is to share just a little less than 3-minute introductory video to the project. I know some of you have seen it, but let me make sure that I'm sharing the sound. Okay, so let me do that.
Where are you emotionally on climate change? 1 is I never think about. 10 is paralyzing anxiety. Can't sleep at night. Don't want to have kids because their world will be through this topic.
The Worldwide Climate and Justice Education Week is about helping people move from climate despair and disengagement to a mindset of climate repair. This is the education that changes the future. So Climate Week is for everyone. It's for students, faculty, and staff from all subjects, like artists and psychologists, scientists and business majors, students of music, literature, economics, international affairs, healthcare and engineering, you name it.
Join tens of thousands of people around the world in growing climate education. You're not alone. People on your campus are really worried about climate change. If you step up, others will join you. At your school, you can make climate an event. This means solutions and justice events on your campus. Art, theater, panel discussions, films, faith meetings, music, games, fairs, and displays. Check out our website for examples from all over the world. Engage your whole school.
On top of your events, you can also help to make climate a class. This means encouraging climate-concerned teachers from all subjects, art, history, chemistry, psychology, all subjects, to spend at least half an hour talking about how climate change solutions and justice are relevant to their field of study, how artists, historians, chemists, and mathematicians are all thinking about climate change. We have step-by-step guides on our website to help you make this happen.
Last summer was the hottest in history. Massive fires, heat waves, floods everywhere. We have to stop it from getting hotter every year. You can help organize Climate and Justice Education Week at your school. The biggest threat to our future? Thinking that someone else will lead, that someone else will stop the climate crisis. Now, not next month, not next year. We all need to step up. Join us.
All right, so that's the 3-minute overview with the music and images. So before we launch onto the presentations, Melissa, do you want to introduce yourself, if you could now,
Sure.
please?
Yeah, my name's Melissa. I'm actually an alum from Bard MBA program.
Great.
And I've just been getting your emails for quite some time, and this is kind of relevant. Since graduating at Bard, I'm started my own impact consulting company for small businesses. So there is like a big push for local engagement in the small business sector to consider, how they can use their power to tackle climate issues, environmental and social. So I saw this and thought it was pretty fitting, especially with everything that's coming up in March. And so, yeah.
Excellent. Well, great to have one of our alums. All right, and hello, Alice. Glad to have you. Why don't you please introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Alice. I work at Brown University. I have 2 kids whom you probably heard in the background because it's time for bed right now. And I teach climate change, and I use a lot of simulations, games, etc. Created last year a conference with more than human entities being represented. And I used to be a climate diplomat a few years ago. I've been working on climate for a bit more than a decade now.
Right. Well, thank you for joining us, Alice. And Mercy, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Hello, good morning. I'm from the Philippines. My name is Mercy Manalo from Polytechnic University of the Philippines. Good morning once again.
Yeah, well, good morning to you and thank you for joining us. All right, so without further ado, who's going first? Is Emily, are you going first or is Marjee going first?
Doesn't matter. Marjee, do you want to?
Why don't we let Emily go first since Marjee presented this morning and so go ahead. So Emily at Kansas University. Yeah, thanks, Michael. Emily at Kansas University in the central part of the U.S. has been with us for several years and has some really innovative events that they do as part of their work. So go ahead, Emily, please.
Hi, I might have a couple things relevant to different people. I'm glad we did introductions. That was helpful. Michael, I was just in Olympia this weekend, actually, so it's nice to be reconnected. Okay, so I'm in Kansas, the middle of the United States geographically. I should have brought a map, but trust me, if you just zoom all the way in, once you open Google Earth, you'll end up in Lawrence, Kansas, which is a longer story, but it's there. So I'm at the Commons, which at the University of Kansas is kind of a unique enterprise because what my entire job is to try to draw connections across disciplines. So as that video was discussing in terms of the ways in which climate events can be kind of effective by working across disciplines and helping people find common space, that's my job always, and in this case, it works well to be featuring climate conversations at the center of that. So this is text that says that, but that's what I do. So I brought a couple different slides from previous teach-ins because this is, I think, our 4th year participating. So the initial one that we put together, I want to hat tip to my former colleague, Terry Ann Lavin, who's not at KU anymore, but she's who introduced me to this idea and connected me with David and Iban to learn more about the climate teach-in. And back then, it was a one-day designated Climate Justice Day. And so we had a series of conversations. You can see here who was presenting. And Emma, I wanted to call out the 3rd hour of this event because it was organized by capstone students in an environmental studies class. So that was one way that students were able to not only have a little bit of leadership and authorship of the issues, but also able to practice their public dialogue skills, trying to build conversations across people's different interests and different ways of understanding things. So we basically just took the form of several short talks, and then every hour we'd bring back together everybody who spoke and have a larger conversation across the talks. That was the same format we did for the 2nd year, different topics. You can see they're kind of all loosely based around different themes, but you'll also note that people are there not only from the university, but from the county, from the city, from the community. We were really intentional about making sure people were there representing different generations, which was also a really wonderful part of that, so that people could not only practice having conversations across generations, but share with others tips for how to do that. Last year, the Climate Teach-In became a week-long event, so we went for it and had several events over the course of the week, and some of those were things like tabling on campus, where we could just bring more people into the fold in terms of sharing with them resources about the different classes they might want to take on campus that connect to climate work in one way or another. We also connected them with ideas for action in the community, public events, things like that. We brought some of our regular programming series to a climate theme for that week in particular. So this is a series that we run every month, and with some partners, of course, on campus, but there's always a different topic that's relevant to themes that we're experiencing either at the State House, federal level, or local. And so we try to call out a topic that has to do with climate during our April event. We hosted a live podcast recording last year with one of our local scholars whose work is really around game design and for classrooms specifically, so that kids can engage with more complex topics through games. So I've in fact shared with her the game day that you have this year on the calendar, and she's not at KU anymore either, but from Oregon State, she's going to participate in the game day. So I guess maybe part of that is to say that the network builds and builds and builds through this event, or the series of events. In fact, that's the podcast recording event last year. We had a film screening, again, with these are high school students, and obviously people who are not high school students, professors, the person who runs the local water dam here and is responsible for a lot of the clean energy that we have, that organization here in the community. We had scholarship showing up in talks at the end of the week for faculty across disciplines. This is a professor in social welfare who does eco-social work. We had a tree planting event that was actually scheduled separate from this, but we were able to work with them. I mean, we partner with a lot of the organizing groups that led this, and we were able to partner with them to reach bigger audiences by wrapping it into the Climate Week. So I should say the Commons definitely doesn't own the climate programming at KU by any stretch. In fact, what we're trying to do is aggregate a lot of what's already going on to illustrate that there's a lot of common threads happening here, and so just bringing them into a larger conversation. More from the tree planting, and then students in a different environmental studies class last year organized an event, and this was what they wrote a grant to get budget and budget for snacks and for materials and also for promotion, and then they organized this event to make seed bombs with local native seeds. So this year we have a lot more brewing. Not everything is published yet. I'm going to jump out of the slideshow here and then share a link with you in the chat, which is where we've got the page that I built so that we could just keep adding things every time a new event was scheduled. So yeah, I'm happy to address any questions or whatever.
Right. Well, thank you, Emily. And one thing actually that I did want to highlight also is I think it was in your 2023 event that many schools are starting with land acknowledgements and just recognizing what was, the owners, at least the keepers of the land prior to white colonization. And I happened to participate in this event virtually and really appreciated how it was not just a pro forma, but there was a real discussion there about what is a land acknowledgement, what is the history of the land that University of Kansas is on, and what are the connections with the people who are still living there from others. I don't know if you want to add anything about that.
Sure, thank you for saying that. So not only is KU in Lawrence, we also are the home of Haskell Indian Nations University and a private college, Baker University. And I get to work with a lot of Native folks, not only at KU, but at Haskell too. So I wrote that land acknowledgement that you're talking about, but I also have asked a lot of questions and just listened to a lot of people talk, like people at Haskell talk about the ways in which a land acknowledgement can be more meaningful than performative. So yeah, the way that went basically is that it's not only an acknowledgement of people who have been in this place in the past, but also who are presently here and what the kinds of work that they're doing, and also more than humans. So like the plants and animals and other beings that are native to a place, because it really helps people understand a lot more about where you are, just in terms of the mind space that they're entering into the event. So it's not merely, thinking about horrific acts of history, but rather allowing the message to sort of inform your present and future actions as you build community around these issues. So thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and we actually on our blog, which is a somewhat hidden part of our website, we do have a discussion about land acknowledgements, and that they shouldn't be pro forma, but they should actually be part of a partnership and a commitment that goes beyond words. And when we get to the discussion, I'm sure Alice is going to want to talk a little bit about our relationship with all species and not just humans. Are there any questions or comments for Emily at this point before we turn to MassArt? Okay, well, maybe there'll be discussion as we go forward. So, Marjee and Liz, I'll just say that one of the fun things for me about this project is to get to meet lots of people who I would not be meeting otherwise, which is pretty much all of you, I guess. But also, I love the way that many of our institutions have been really bringing together the arts and the sciences and other approaches to bring different ways of thinking and different ways of knowing. And so through another BART alum, we got connected with Massachusetts College of Art and Design, and I'll let Marjee and Liz take it from there.
Thank you. I have some slides that we put together. So this year will be our 4th annual Climate and Justice Teach-In. And as David said, so MassArt is an independent college of art and design, which makes us, a little bit different than some of the other topics and vantage points that y'all might be coming at this with, but it's kind of fun. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to turn it over to Liz first to talk about the first year, because I actually wasn't involved with that. And then I'll take over, right? So just give me a second because I'm not good at this. Meh. Okay, here we go. I got it. Oh, except that we have to go to the first slide. I'm an idiot. That was left over from this morning. Okay. So Liz.
Okay.
You're
All right,
number
so-
one.
Okay, so this first year that we did this, we were very deep in the pandemic, and so it was a very virtual event for us, and actually brought together a lot more people than we anticipated or expected. But we worked across campus, as all of you were talking about, and we focused on different areas of how we could approach the whole topic. So the first session it was basically 3 hours. And so it was like a little marathon. And the first session, we had several different panels approaching sustainability in the curriculum. And they approached it from many different vantage points, from just creating community, at finding ways to talk about things, looking at the science and how what this had to do with the muddy river that was really in need of help and has been getting help. And so there was like a video that was created about that whole process. So this is back. Yeah. So anyways, session 2 had to do more with materials and processes, and this was a really big deal for us. Being in an art school, a lot of areas of the school are using materials that are not great for the environment, and they need to feel like they can actually address those issues and face what we're using and try to improve what we're using. So this was the treehouse that was built, and that was a great focus. And that was an environmentally very sustainable building that was built.
It's a LEED certified building, yeah.
And it was the only building actually that MassArt has ever been able to build, because we are in buildings that have been created for other purposes and reused. And this was a collaboration that the fashion department did with the Eileen Fisher company. And fashion has been instrumental in this. That year, they were very, very present in the teach-in, but they've done some fabulous work. And then the third session was more focused on how this impacts justice and the environment and how we can make a difference in that way. So it was a very robust first year. We had well over 100 people in attendance. Both alums came and students actually collaborated in each presentation with faculty and were really like the moderators of each panel. And that was a very beautiful thing too. So then we moved to the next year. Marjee.
Yeah, so then they were dumb enough to put me in charge. So I joined the sustainability committee in this academic year, whatever it was, 22, 23. So campus was a little bit more populated again, right? We were coming back from the pandemic, and we found that people were really hungry for in-person events. So we pivoted to almost completely in person, although we did have some Zoom events. And this also coincided with the 150th anniversary of the college. So we sort of dovetailed in with that. And borrowed their branding. And that gave us our theme of sustaining the next 150 years at MassArt. So what we chose to focus on specifically was how our materials and methodologies can be looked at through any discipline through the lens of sustainability, whether that is, departments and disciplines and individuals that are already considering, innovative materials, or if you're considered, sort of dirty, wasteful departments, myself included, right? How can we help mitigate a little bit? So we had a week-long series of events, including presentations, demonstrations, discussions, and happenings across campus. And the biggest thing that was really important to me was that we did this as an open call. So anybody could propose content, students, faculty, staff from across campus, which really led to more diverse content and in a sense of inclusivity. So I have a couple photos of a few of the events. This was an awesome interactive performance that that was just going on all day and you could participate. This was a fashion design student giving us the history and actual logistical draping of the sari. The jewelry students were doing a repair day where you could bring in your broken stuff and they would help fix it or advise how to get it properly fixed anyway. There were lots of, small panel discussions, roundtable discussions based on theme. There's a class that we run called Objects That Change Lives that we sort of highlighted during the teach-in. These students are making rocket stoves and Zier pots and low-tech ceramic water filters. So we put up a big exhibition of that. Jane Marshing brought out the Resilient Pigment Library. So that was really great. It was definitely, it was fun to be back on campus. So last year, we built upon that and we used the same format. It was a week-long, in-person, big workshop, Skillshare type event. We ended up with 28 different events given from over 15 different disciplines and areas on campus, led by students, faculty, and staff. We were really encouraging students to propose their own content, and a lot of them did. And even when it was faculty and staff proposing content, we requested that they get a student assistant to run the workshop with them, which is really great experience for them. So again, I have a couple photos. This was an awesome workshop. There's Liz on walnut ink and how to make it from scratch, and then also how to make some low-tech drawing tools, which is really interesting. Bundle dyeing with our fibers faculty and students. My students did rust printing and dyeing with all of our metal scraps, which was really fun. The printmaking students were doing plant-based collagraphs. We had a mending workshop going on over several days and a clothing swap, which was really great. And then one of my favorite things, and Liz was instrumental in putting this together, we did a Pechakucha night, although we can't call it Pechakucha because that's trademarked. So we called it Student Snapshots. But we had, did we have like 11 students?
I think so.
Representing, I think, 5 different departments. I can't quite remember. Giving really short presentations on their work. On the left is Haley Rivas from fashion, and on the right is Olivia Foss, who was a double major in glass and industrial design, doing all of her work on coral restoration. So that got a little, it's important to understand that we are a governance committee that that's administering this teach-in. And it's a ton of work and it's been really fun. This year, as Emily said, we're not 100% done planning yet, but we do know that we are bringing it back down to one consolidated day. That's just going to be a big convergence in our gigantic atrium, where it's the theme is material mapping. So we're going to focus on resources across campus, and specifically use and reuse, and trying to encourage people to like trade and swap, and like what I consider waste could become a really awesome drawing tool. So we'll see how it goes, but it's going to be a lot easier to coordinate than finding rooms for 28 concurrent events throughout the week in our very limited footprint in downtown Boston. So those are my slides. I can stop sharing now. I'm happy to answer any questions, but that we have fun.
Yeah.
Looks like a lot of fun. Yeah, for sure. All right. Questions or comments for either of these two fine presentations?
I'll ask you a question, Marjee and Liz. So like part of what I'm thinking about in terms of design of programs and that kind of thing is the longer term, this, for lack of a better word, the sustainable relationships that are built along the course of doing this kind of programming, and seeing how it makes, for instance, classes change what their curriculum is going to be like in the following year, or students creating a student group who's regularly doing the material exchange or something like that. And I'm just wondering if you've seen any of that happen yet over the course of 4 years, or if you're anticipating anything like that.
It's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know if I have an answer. So I guess one thing that might make a difference is that we have a sustainability minor at MassArt. And that minor is actually part of we're affiliated with what's called the Colleges of the Fenway. So it's multiple little colleges in a group, a little cluster. So our minor is part of the COF minor. So like that, in some respects, what you're asking about already exists, right? Because they have their own little self-sustained thing. What we're trying to do is make sure that there's no gatekeeping to that minor or to a sustainability mindset. So Liz has heard me talk about this so many times, right? Like I feel like sometimes, especially in art and design, there are certain disciplines that get a little bit stigmatized for being too dirty, right? 3D being the worst offender. And I consistently make fun of myself because like the dirty foundry girl is the queen of sustainability, right? At MassArt, which is just incongruous. But so what I think what one of my personal goals has been is to try to link up these different majors and make them work together so that there's no stigma about like, oh, you can't be part of this discussion because you're not in the right major. And I have seen a little bit of that growing, right? That like students are actually making those connections. But that's all I can really speak to because it's all I've seen, right?
I think it also helps that you are the chair of this governance because of where you are coming from. And I think it also makes people who don't really know where to begin realize, oh, wait, I can ask these questions. I can think about this. We can find answers. And that's really where it begins. And so just giving permission for people to realize that they can make a difference in what they're choosing to do, how they're choosing to do it, and just working with others and learning from each other. So while there's this minor, I was just going to say, while there's this minor on campus, which is great, wouldn't it be great if everybody in some way broached the subject? Because we know everyone wants to. Right. Everyone wants to get involved in this.
Yeah, so that's the other thing that we've done as part of the Teach-In Week consistently now is in addition to putting out this big open call and approaching individuals to contribute content, workshops, skill shares, etc. Baseline, we're saying you can participate in this by just focusing your class that week on like just if you're a student and you're doing this research project, ask your faculty member if you can give your presentation that week, and then you've participated in the teach-in. So we're trying, I think what both of us are saying is that we're trying to make it as accessible as possible. And at least spread a little bit of awareness. Like, I think I definitely have had students through, like, I do like majors advising and stuff for the 3D students. And I have had a couple people actually ask about the sustainability minor, which I've never seen before. So that's kind of like, so, I mean, there's like little nuggets of like, yeah, maybe people are getting it, but I'm not sure if that's exactly what you were asking, but that's what we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in any data like that too, because it's also hard to collect when it's sort of a form that nobody else knows how to take because they haven't really been doing this before, but the value is there. It's just, right, like the testimonials, or even as you're saying, more people asking about this minor now, like that's a sign of something good. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I think, as our partners said in the introductory video, that, we're really trying to show people that this work is for everybody, and
Right.
that, we use the tagline of helping to move from climate despair to climate repair. And in our view, that hope is an action verb, and that you create hope by engagement, and you can see that, regardless of what you do, whether you're working with dirty materials or pure intellectual ideas, or applied mathematics and engineering, that we need everybody. We need all of our talent. We need all of our skills to tackle this climate crisis, and to move us towards a just transition towards more sustainable societies. Yeah, please, Alice, go ahead.
Thanks, David, and thank you, Emily, Marjee, and Liz. It was really great listening to you all. Very inspiring as well. I have a very practical question, and I'm sure it's the case on your campuses as well, but at Brown there is this kind of huge availability of things to do for students, right? They have every single day we get an email. There's 5 or 6 events happening on the same day. And so I was really curious, what is it that people come to your events? And when I'm looking at the feedback from both of your presentations, I'm like, wow, I really want to be part of this. So I can see that the event in itself, how it's designed, can really yield kind of the desire to join. But there's a ton of really great events on tons of different topics. What makes it attractive for students and faculty, by the way, and staff to be part of this? And also, do you anticipate a change, given the change of political tone in the US since kind of officially since yesterday?
My snarky answer is free food. Always offer free food. Yeah. I'm going to ignore the political climate issue.
And I think the more that students that get involved, then through word of mouth, it also begins to become more interesting. And also, your location, make it central, make it convenient wherever you're doing it, so that it's easy for students to find their way there.
I think my non-snarky answer is that, like Liz is saying, we've actually built up some momentum. So now I think we don't have we're not a huge campus, so we have a lot of events going on, but not necessarily quite as competing as some, a place like Brown. But now I think the teach-in falling in, late March, early April is anticipated, and people are actually excited about it. Our students are really hungry for especially climate and justice-based information. I also use it as a really good opportunity to remind students that if they step up and run a workshop or give a presentation or whatever, like that's an awesome thing to put on their CV, right? Which they're not necessarily thinking about, but they need to be. And by the time they hit senior year professional practices, and they go, oh shit, I have nothing to put on my CV. So like, not that that's the only reason they should do it, but it's like, that's actually really great. You spoke at the Worldwide Climate and Justice Teach-In, right? Little things like that. We try to, we don't have a lot of money. We're not really funded to do any of this, except for last year when we joined forces with the minor. But we try to have like really small little gifts for the students or participants, right? Where like we'll go raid the president's office and get free t-shirts, stickers, stuff like that. But that also is just more hype and more advertising. So, our events haven't been huge by any means, but they are getting bigger each year, which means we're gaining momentum, and that I think is encouraging.
Yeah, and I would add that I think, as these and many of the other activities are, if they're real partnerships that engage students in a substantive way, that students are best ambassadors.
Right.
If they're in a play, they're going to tell their friends, come and see me. If they're doing an exhibition of their work, they're going to tell their friends. If they're going to be moderating a panel of professors or something like that. So that is certainly I think, we need to make sure that we are practicing um, interactivity in our education. And then I'll also just semi-snarky that my colleague even has uses the technique of getting students to put flyers inside the bathroom stalls. So you at least have a captive audience of people that will know about it. So while they're sitting there. Before we run out of time, Alice, I would love to have you give us a little bit about this amazing conference of all life that you created last year, because I think it's just such a wonderful approach. Please.
I'll take 2 minutes, but I want to hear from Emily as well, how it went in Kansas University, if you don't mind.
Okay. So I was actually just going to type it something so that I didn't take up more time, but I think I wanted to also respond to the second part of your question about politics, because, we're a state institution. Kansas is not a blue state by any stretch, though we do have a Democratic governor. But I was just going to say that I think that this is one of the ways that we can sort of use our interdisciplinary knowledge and interest to address a real world problem. Like at this point, we can safely say it's a problem, climate change. And so it allows students opportunities to come together, which I think is going to be something really critical that people are feeling as they're just trying to find community in this super divided time. We're actually going to try to do an event this year on AI and climate that looks at sort of a lot of the ecological impact of big tech and like industry and that kind of thing, which will be on Zoom. So I'll share that link out with everybody. But yeah, I think just trying to frame this as an opportunity for coming together toward a big challenge is going to be one of the ways that we try to face this in climate, or in the, I was going to say in this time of a divided political climate. I also wonder if some of the anxiety that we've talked about over the course of time, like climate anxiety and the tools that we've addressed, not that we've solved that by any stretch, but like some of that might also be applied to difficult political situations when people are feeling sort of existential dread and anxiety about that. Like, there's nothing I can do. I'm one person. This is a whole huge problem. It's a lot of this. There are parallels, I should say, in that that these are problems that can be fixed, and it's a matter of us coming together to address them. But to your other question, I was going to say doing a lot of different things. So tabling out on the sidewalk where people just happen to see us, targeted messaging through faculty members, trying to look on our course catalog and seeing what classes might lend themselves toward something climate related, even if it doesn't necessarily seem obvious, and then reaching out to the faculty and seeing if their students want to come to the event or help present. That podcast episode we did was inspired by a class who was working with that podcaster, and so a lot of our budget was just is shared. I mean, we don't have a huge budget for this series either, so I'll stop there, but I'm happy to talk more too if it's helpful.
Right. Yeah, thank you. And then I'll just, I do want to turn to you, Alice, but just to comment, as Emily was saying, with this virtual event on AI and climate, that we still do, and we encourage to have virtual events or to have webcasts or shared events so that way, you know, like last year, I think there was just one panel from the MassArt teaching that was virtual, but I attended that virtually and got to hear from 4 amazing alums, one of whom I tried to get my daughter to communicate with because of shared interests. So, we will be, for those who are organizing virtual events, we will be communicating and promoting that, especially if you follow the video link that I put in there and actually post your event, register with us, and get on our map. Even the virtual events, we can get on the map. So go ahead, Alice, please.
Thanks a lot, David. So I'm just posting the link here if you want to click on it. And if you take note of the name, it's called www.cole@brown.edu. Sorry, it's my mistake. It's .org. Oopsie. cole@brown.org. And it was a joke, a pun, because it was the conference of all life, but we wanted it to sound like coal, which is precisely what's destroying life on Earth, or one of the things. And especially coming from Brown University, if you work in finances, green finance, green flows are the flows that work for sustainability, and brown flows are the flows of money that finance oil and gas and coal and other environment destructive financial flows. So we thought we would play on the name of the university and the name of the conference to kind of alleviate the heaviness of the topic. It was a very beautiful, truly interdisciplinary and kind of status participatory event where we asked everyone to take one entity that they wanted to represent and to come together in delegations. And over 3 days, we had them negotiate together within their own delegation, and then between delegations, what would it mean to adopt some kind of treaty of all life? What would be the principles? What kind of decisions should be taken, and how could those decisions be taken? And so we had the participants, students, alumni, staff, faculty, were part of it. We were 90 people and about 20 delegations. It went from exercises of like embodying your delegation. So say the bird delegation would kind of fly around flapping with their hands, and the World Trade Organization would be completely stiff and stuck, and have them interact and check like, how does it work? So you don't have to have knowledge. You don't have to have words to explain yourself. You can do it with your body to kind of open up things. And then we had facilitated exercise to have them come together. And by the end of the conference, we asked everyone to reflect upon what they had gone through. And so we included a very long 2-hour debrief with everyone. And we asked them to share either a learning or an unlearning, or something they had not learned and they wished they had. And we asked everyone to speak out loud and then gaze at someone else in the assistance who would be ready to receive that gaze, and so that to pass the kind of the mic. And once they were done speaking, we asked everyone, once they had spoken, to come and sit on the ground in a form of an embodied land acknowledgement. We had started with kind of the formal land acknowledgement, and we had invited a Narragansett tribal elder who had to be convinced to come because obviously for the Narragansett people who lived on where Brown campus is, there is a huge difficulty in kind of addressing and being part of that institution, right? Especially like where the conference was taking place was at the top of the hill where Brown is situated, which used to be a place of worship. And Brown University has continued to displace local inhabitants, including Narragansett people, in order to build new dorms, right? So there was a very strong and vivid history that was still very present here. And so we built on both this kind of Native American approach to what is life, but also we brought in kind of the scientific kind of conferencey style, and we mingled those kind of ways of knowing together in order to create this experience for all. I'm noticing it's 9, so I'm stopped.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and Alice, maybe you also want to put the link to the video, the summary in the chat, and I will share the things that are in the chat. I'll put that from both this morning and this time into the follow-up. So yes, we are at the top of the hour. I don't want to keep people, but I just maybe provide a couple of other things just in terms of upcoming and context. So we will have these webinars, conversations, community conversations, because our goal is not just to have you improve the things that you're doing on your own campus, but to create opportunities for collaboration. And like this morning, we had several people from Africa who talked about their experiences and talked about, what climate justice really is. And you folks, if you're organizing events, we have a couple people from Philippines and from Costa Rica today, or three from the Philippines, maybe to zoom in a speaker from some other part of the world to talk with your students. Actually, that reminds me of an event a few years back. We had a play writing competition, and we selected 3 plays, one of which was by a playwright in the Philippines. And we had a virtual event where students at the University of Nebraska, I'm sorry, the person was in Pakistan, not in the Philippines. I got Philippines on my brain with you all on there. And we had a virtual event where students in Pakistan read the play and acted it out, a short play in Urdu, the language it was written in. And then students in Nebraska did the same in English. And then there was a Zoom meeting where they talked about the issues. And for a 10-minute play, I think they went for about 2 hours just talking and sharing about their lives. So those are things that we can do as well. But anyway, so getting back to the upcoming. So next week, same time, same place, we will have Make Climate a Class. So we'll have people who've talked about what they've done and also how they've recruited other people who are not, normally climate educators to Make Climate a Class. Then on the 4th of February, there's a mention of climate games. We'll be having the first ever Climate and Justice Games Day on April 11th. So we're going to have people who've organized and developed 4 different games that are going to present the games and how you can get them and how you can use them in your teaching and learning. After that, on the 11th of February, to inform people's teaching, there are a couple of really good resource libraries, curated databases of climate education materials for all different educational levels and subject areas. So we'll have speakers from that. Then on on February 11th, the theme will be teaching using food to teach. And not just to get people to come, but to think about food as a climate issue, or to think about climate through the eyes of food. And then we'll have others coming up. And if you have suggestions for topics, I know we're going to do something on mental health aspects and how to incorporate that into your work. So those are all upcoming. So any questions or comments before we do break here? Well, we're excited to have all of you. Um, for me, it's great to I've gotten to know some of you over the years. It's great to get to know more of you, and it's it really is, I think, very reinforcing that you're not alone at your own institution, but there are other people at other institutions who share similar concerns and here to learn from each other. So thank you all for being with us tonight. I will stop the recording, and if anybody wants to remain on with specific questions or comments to me, I'll be around for a little bit, but then my dog needs attention.
Thank you.
Thank
Good night,
you.
all.
Thank you. Or morning.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.